Hello, I'm Doug Musio. This is City Talk. It's been a busy several weeks. He's filed papers to create a committee to explore challenging Kirsten Gillibrand in the Democratic primary next year. He's told Mike Bloomberg to take a deep breath on the mayor's prediction that there's going to be chaos if the state doesn't extend his authority to run the New York City public schools. He's called for a ban on private equity firms that serve municipal pension funds from using middlemen. He's negotiated a compromise over Fordham University's plan to build towers on its 60th Street campus, and he's continuing his efforts to strengthen Manhattan community planning boards, which he sees as the city's formal institutions of local democracy. He's Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer, and he's here to talk about, among other things, the 2010 U.S. Senate race, mayoral control of the schools, land use policy, city pension investments, and the importance of the city's 59 community planning boards. Prior to being elected borough president, Scott served 13 years in the New York State Assembly. Joining Scott and me in the first segment of today's show is Julie Gonzalez, a second-year master's student in urban planning at Hunter College. She is a community planning fellow in the Manhattan Borough President's office, assigned to Community Board 9, where she is working on the rezoning of West Harlem. Welcome, Julie. Welcome, Scott.
Good to be here.
Scott, give us just a brief background on the rationale of the Planning Fellowship Program.
Well, this is an outgrowth. This program's an outgrowth of our community board reform efforts over the last couple of years in Manhattan. We went to a merit-based system to appoint community board members, gave them unprecedented training in land use and zoning and conflict of interest. And the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, was this Urban Planning Fellow program where we put students in different community boards, graduate students interested in urban planning, and we put them in the community boards like the Peace Corps to work directly in the neighborhoods, which they provide land use experience for neighborhoods, and they get a wealth of experience in their future.
And the universities included in this are City University, Columbia?
Columbia, you name it, we've got them.
Good.
And CUNY in particular. Great program. The Urban Fellow, the graduate program is now something the mayor wants to take citywide. It is just a tremendous program.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it would be worth it for the other borough presidents to do much the same thing. Julie, let's turn to you. How did you become interested in urban planning?
I started out as an undergraduate. I interned at the Washington State Legislature, where I had a lot of wonderful experience with a lot of community-based organizations. And I was really impressed with some of their initiatives and how they tailored land use initiatives to help bring about changes to effectually effectuate their communities in a positive manner.
And then you applied to Hunter.
I did,
and you
yes.
made it. And how did you get involved with this Planning Fellow program?
Well, I actually found out about it by a wonderful professor at Hunter, Tom Gotti, who runs a Center for Community Planning and Development. And he suggested that I look into the program, and I picked up a brochure at our offices and thought, what a wonderful program, I have to be involved. So I applied.
And you were accepted. Now, what training did you get? What did you do? What is the work that you're doing now?
Well, the Borough President's Land Use Office is a really great asset for all of us planning fellows. They gave us background information on the fundamentals of land use and zoning and how we can help the community boards with the various projects that we're doing. So throughout our year with the community boards, we're in close contact with their offices, and they help us provide technical assistance to the community boards.
So this is a real academic internship. I mean, you've got to do academic related work. You meet with your other interns during the course of
we actually do. We have 2 seminars throughout the year where we actually meet with some of the leaders within the planning community, and they are a valuable asset to us, giving us their experiences in working with various New York City neighborhoods.
Talk about what you've been doing.
Sure. So my first semester, I assisted Community Board 9 with the land use survey, and I looked at all of the commercial buildings and businesses within the 145th Street corridor, created a land use survey, just surveying where they're located, what types of businesses are there, so that the community board gets a sense of how the economy has changed their commercial corridors, if at all.
Now, how does the community board use what you provide to them, or have they used it?
It helps them it serves as a guide for them, especially Community Board 9 is going through a West Harlem rezoning initiative initiated by Borough President. So they want to see if there are different trends and changes to the community, and how, if at all, land use can help to preserve small businesses or attract different types of businesses that may not be there or have left. So,
Sounds
great.
exciting.
It is.
Now, what do you expect to come out of what you've done for the community board?
If anything, it's just strengthened my commitment to community-based planning. It's been quite a privilege and honor to work with people who are so very committed to their communities.
Okay, now, don't even look at it.
I'm so proud of her.
I know.
This is great.
Well,
I could sit here all day.
I know,
This is
you're
great.
smiling. And by the way, you did an excellent job in introducing Governor Patterson, who introduced you
Thank you.
at the State of the Borough speech.
I'm a little upset she's getting a little more publicity than I am lately.
Well, excuse me.
But I understand.
Did you go to part of the City University
No,
system?
I did, but not
I mean,
well, she did.
Thank you. Okay, now, so you just stand to the side for a second. What have you found to be the most gratifying thing you've done?
Wow. I think I'm grateful and honored to be part of this wonderful dynamic process that allows communities to get really involved in what's happening in their communities. So just being a part of the weekly meetings or the monthly meetings that occur, seeing people in their communities who are dedicated to seeing change happen for the betterment of their neighbors and businesses. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
You've come out of this with a real positive view
Absolutely.
of local. What's the most frustrating thing that you've experienced?
Honestly, lack of resources. A lot of the people who are members of community boards work full-time and have families, and so they're taking time out of their day to, commit to their neighborhoods. It would be great to see all the community boards actually have a dedicated full-time planner on staff to help them with all the various problems and challenges they face.
Now, are you the only fellow working in Community Board 9? In other words, is there one fellow in each of the community boards
That's
in
correct,
the borough?
for Manhattan.
And you are the planning expertise in Community Board 9?
I
Okay,
am.
what do you do from here? Well, first of all, you graduate soon?
I do, in 4 weeks.
You excited?
Very excited.
What do you do next?
Well, I'm hoping to obviously stay in the city of New York and work for a nonprofit organization. I'm primarily interested in affordable housing development, currently intern at the Housing Partnership.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully I'll be able to continue in that field.
Oh, hopefully you will. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for being here.
It was a
Stay
pleasure.
tuned. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer. Scott, I got you all to myself. Oh, you got me all to yourself. Let's start with the Senate race. What's wrong with Kirsten Gillibrand, and why might you be challenging her next year?
Well, I've opened up an exploratory committee to think about that possibility.
Go ahead.
I'm a progressive Democrat. I think that we have to promote certain traditional values in the state, a strong anti-gun policy, an immigration policy that allows people to immigrate here and to live their lives here, and to make sure that we fight the tobacco industry, and in particular, the National Rifle Association that has literally gotten away with murder. So I want to be able to promote issues like that, affordable housing, quality health care, and an economic resurgence for New York City and the big cities around the state. So there's a lot that I want to discuss. I think that a Senate race and the Democratic primary should be about issues and discussions and disagreements, but whoever becomes the next senator for the interim term should be elected through the voters, not just be appointed.
Okay. And it's not by accident that the issues that you mentioned up top, gun control, immigration, are the very issues that Gillibrand seems to be most vulnerable with, particularly with a Democratic primary electorate, because in a sense she's really out of step with what ought to be the Democratic primary electorate's priorities.
Well, I have a certain progressive view of what the Democratic Party should be about, what we should be promoting, what we should stand for. We'll agree on some things. We'll probably disagree on other things. I happen to like her personally. I think she's a very decent, good human being. But having
Prodigious
said that,
fundraiser, tireless work, and not that you're chopped liver.
No, but she certainly has the fundraising piece down, and I want to be able to bring the issues that I care about to the forefront. If this is an avenue that I can use, then I'm going to do that. If the progressive community in the state is ready to back a candidate who has had a very strong record on these issues, then we'll find out. And that's what the exploratory committee is all about. You know, we haven't decided definitely to run. There's a lot of people to talk to. There's a lot of this state I have to cover, but we're having that discussion.
What makes you decide positively to run? What are the conditions that says to Scott Stringer, I'm doing this?
I think one, I have to have a conversation with the people who elected me Manhattan Borough President, which I'm going to do over the summer, the constituents in Manhattan. I then think we have to really begin to build a multiracial, intergenerational coalition from Buffalo to Brooklyn to talk about what progressive policies we have to put forth. And I have to show my record as being a consistent Democrat on issues that people care about.
And you have to raise money. You have to raise
yeah.
a boatload of money.
Yeah, I have to do that.
Okay. Now, how does a guy who's the borough president of Manhattan run statewide?
Well, remember, before I was borough president of Manhattan, I was a state assemblyman, so I worked on statewide issues throughout my 13 years. 13 years of real legislative experience, voting on thousands of bills that don't just impact New York City, but impact the whole state. I chaired the cities committee, held hearings in Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse.
Which would be a nice source of votes in a Democratic primary.
Well, traveled the state beyond New York City. Chaired the Real Property Taxation Committee in Albany, the Investigations Committee. So I had an opportunity to work on property tax assessments for Long Island and upstate New York. When you put it all together, and the fact that I run a very strong and effective office representing 1.5 million people, the same size, the staff is the same size as a Senate office, I certainly think that I have the qualifications to do an excellent job in the Senate. But it's not just about your qualifications or your background or who you can appeal to. You have to have a belief system. You have to be strong in your positions. When I was in Albany, I took on Albany reform and enacted rules changes in the state assembly. And when I became borough president, we created community board reform and changed the way community boards are run. And that's because I have a certain sense of belief and the ability to get things done.
Certain core values.
Yeah, I think that's true.
One of the laws that you voted on as an assemblyman was giving the mayor of the city of New York control over the public school system. Now, as I noted in the intro, a couple of days ago, you suggested that Mike Bloomberg take a deep breath about his concern that modifying state law would create chaos in the school system. So you told him to take a deep breath. What do you see has been the successes of mayoral control, the failures of mayoral control, and what ought to be done?
Well, I voted for mayoral control because I thought that we needed one person in charge, an elected official that we could hold accountable for the education of our New York City school kids. That person has been Mayor Bloomberg with Chancellor Klein. There's no reason why we should change that. This is a much better system of accountability and transparency than we've ever had before.
What about performance?
But, well, I mean, I think we've had some successes in terms of scores going up and things like that. And obviously, we've had some more difficult situations occur within the system. The bottom line, though, is when I voted for mayoral control, to give Mayor Bloomberg control of the school system, I hoped that we would have an engaged parent involvement process. That has not worked out.
It seems that there's a consensus among folks across the spectrum.
Joe Klein has said it. Jeffrey Canada, who's one of the leaders and a great leader in the Harlem community and a big supporter of mayoral control, he said it. Everyone agrees that we have to engage the parents. The question now is how. So I respectfully say to the mayor, you know, a little bit of a deep breath. Use your sharp elbows to fight for mayoral control in Albany. You don't get anything in Albany unless you come out swinging, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, I'm asking him to consider a proposal that I have put forth, which would
and a really excellent report,
and I think would reform the community engagement process for parents.
Talk about it.
Essentially, it's actually very simple. We would model the community education councils based on how we run our community boards. So we would go to a system where the borough presidents would run the community education councils.
And there would be how many of these?
Well, in Manhattan, there would be 6 education councils, roughly 60 individuals. I now run 12 community boards with 600 people. So this is something that could be absorbed in every borough president's office. So you're saying make
these CECs analogous to the community planning
set
board.
up, so I'll give you an example. If there has to be a zoning change in a school district under the state law currently, the community education councils have to vote on that. But there's no timeline. There's no process. We would set up, modeled after the Uniform Land Use Review process, something called UPEP, Uniform Parent Engagement Process, where we would be able to have a timeline for hearings, for discussion, for a vote, and then we would send the recommendation to the Chancellor and the Department of Education, and they would say yay or nay or moderate a position. We would basically professionalize the CECs. We would give them the resources they need, and you would have, in the borough president, an independent elected official who's not beholden to the DOE bureaucracy, who could manage the board same way we do at the community boards. The community boards are a separate agency. Borough presidents appoint, give training, guidance, and it seems to work. I think it works. And it's a much better process than we have now with the CECs under the umbrella of the Department of Education, which quite frankly has been a disaster. The Department of Education does not know how to manage the parents. They don't know how to manage this process because, quite frankly, it's almost a conflict of interest.
Right.
Why would you want to give resources and cater to people who may just disagree with you all the time?
And criticize you.
Exactly. It's like oil and vinegar. It's not a good mix. So separate it out. Give the borough presidents the opportunity to do things. Folks like yourself have said we should either get rid of the borough presidents or they should do more.
Okay, we're gonna get to that. Okay.
But here I'm telling you, give us more to do. We can do it. And I will say this: parent engagement at the DOE costs $5-6 million. We could do it for the same budget we have now.
Now, this parental engagement that you're talking about, if it's analogous to the community planning boards, these recommendations are that. They're recommendations. They're advisory. They really have no statutory or policy.
That's because, well,
Go ahead.
That's because mayoral control is about the mayor making the decisions, and then you judge that mayor after 4 years or his term. That doesn't mean that just because you have a process that's advisory, although in current state law, the CECs do have mandated responsibilities and influence, like the zoning of schools, for example.
Right now, but have they been able to exercise those?
The reason they can't exercise it is because of this mishmash disaster that we have under the DOE. Separate it out, professionalize the CECs, give them the resources, and you know what's going to happen? You'll have a hot button issue. You'll be able to get 200 people to a CEC meeting. DOE will be there monitoring the procedures. They'll look and say, because these are good people, they want to do right by parents and kids. I don't believe for a minute that anyone is anti-education of children. They're going to go to the CEC meetings. They're going to see professional presentations. They're going to see great debate. A large number of parents turn out. Why? Because we'll make sure of that. And then, like the community board recommendation, there'll be compromise. There'll be discussion. We'll arrive at a conclusion, and everyone will feel that they had an input into their kids' education. Every study, every academic study from Harvard and other places show that when parents are involved in the education of their children, the reading scores, the math scores go up. When parents are pushed aside, then that's when we have a breakdown here.
Why the fear of parents?
I have to tell you something. We're making headway with the Department of Education, and I do want to give them credit. We're now meeting with war rooms because of school overcrowding. We issued 2 reports about zoning and land use and school overcrowding in neighborhoods.
Right.
We're now working with the deputy chancellor and people in the mayor's office, and parents are at the meetings. And you know what happens? Nothing. It's a discussion. It's working. I want to now memorialize this, codify it.
Right.
And we can do that because mayoral control is now being debated in Albany. I believe we're going to pass mayoral control, but let's create a parent participation piece that allows the educators to do the educating, to allow the mayor to have responsibility, but that we carve out a piece for parents and for teachers to have a say, because we all want to have a say. We're New Yorkers. We need to express our opinions. It's good for our democracy, and it actually works.
It just makes us feel better on top of it. Come on. Okay. Any other reforms of the current mayoral control?
I think this is something that should be considered. Now, I'm very glad that we've introduced, Senator Dan Squadron, has introduced this bill in the Senate. Assemblyman Jeff Dinowitz from the Bronx has carrying this bill in the Assembly. So this is going to be part of the mayoral control discussion. And obviously, I'm hoping that Senator Smith and Speaker Silver will be able to just hopefully hear that people think this is a worthy proposal. And I would respectfully ask them to consider it.
But it's your sense that the law will be, re-voted on positively in terms of mayoral control with some tweaking, if you will.
I wouldn't even call it tweaking. We have a major issue as relates to parent engagement.
I shouldn't have used the word tweaking.
But
substantive change.
But by the way, substantive change that continues mayoral control, that creates an avenue for parents to participate, is a win.
Okay. It's a win for everybody.
For everybody.
Okay.
Especially for the kids.
Okay, let's go back to your gripe with me about the office of Borough President, accusing.
I've been waiting for
I know. You accosted me on the steps of City Hall.
Say accosted
well,
you.
almost. Okay. I mean, castigated me on the steps of City Hall. Make a case. Make a case for the continued existence or even the enhanced power of borough presidents. Your proposal for the CECs makes the borough president a more substantial office. Make a case that they shouldn't be abolished by the next charter commission and the voters.
Because, first of all, I don't think they're going to be. Borough president's office is needed in this city for two reasons. One, look at land use and zoning. The success I had pushing the compromise for Fordham University's expansion and Columbia University's expansion happened because I wasn't a local elected official, that I had a broader constituency and a broader city view, which is exactly what the uniform land use process intended. Community boards have a more local focus. Borough presidents can think a little larger, and council members have to then go back and think about their districts, but also have a broader view. We put all that together, you put that in the mix, you tend to get good compromise. Our office has been able to become a professional office where you have land use and zoning fellows, a professional staff in terms of urban planners, and a policy unit that can look at broader issues that impact Manhattan. Why you would want to weaken that office and take it away only makes the mayor stronger. It only makes people think more local in their view, not have a broader sense of things. And I think it's generational. There are people who remember the glory days of the Board of Estimate and can't get it out of their heads that just because there's no Board of Estimate doesn't mean the borough presidents have not found a way to be very effective. And I speak for myself and all the borough presidents. We all do it differently. We all have a different way of approaching the job, but we are much better because we have these offices. And there's now a move. Let's get rid of the public advocate. Let's get rid of the borough presidents. Well, you may as well get rid of the city council. Let the mayor run everything. Put him in charge.
Wait a minute. There are probably people out there who are going to agree with you.
Well, then we'll never have dissent. We'll never have, striking that delicate balance. Give it all to one person. I don't think New Yorkers really want that. And I would suggest that people in academia, people who study the history of the city, knowing about our different neighborhoods, our distinct boroughs, and we have always been a city of boroughs, put it all together, make the borough presidents stronger, give them more to do, like the CECs, give the borough presidents the opportunity to stop having this, this arrow on your back and say, we're going to make our offices better, especially true at the public advocate's office. That's an office that could counterweight the mayor, but they don't control, Betsy Gotbaum doesn't control her own budget. It's madness that in a city of great reform, where we're about to have a city charter revision, right now we only have one member on this charter, who's only been named, a guy by the name of Ron Lauder, who I can't wait to spend 2010 with unless I'm upstate. And we're going to talk about governance and city change, but it doesn't have to be taking away power from communities or offices like this. We should empower people. And if you look at our website, you look at the work that we've been doing, some of the out-of-the-box thinking, this debate about the borough presidents, I don't mean to be, I don't get angry at it. I just think it's just it's a tired argument that we now have to put aside.
Okay, we don't want to tire anybody else out. Last week, page 2 headline of the Post, Powell's blast free ride by pension placers. You're one of the 11 trustees of the New York Employees Retirement System, the largest of the city's 5 pension funds. What's going on there? I mean, Andrew Cuomo indicted Ray Harding, the former head of the Liberal Party. What's the problem? What's the solution?
Well, Attorney General Cuomo is obviously doing an excellent job on these and many other issues in terms of his investigations. Obviously, people should be presumed innocent. Those are charges. But clearly what I think the Attorney General has called into question is this whole notion of middlemen seeking business from NYSERS and other pension funds. In Albany, the state pension fund is sole trustee. Here in New York, we have 11 members.
Right.
Borough presidents each have a quarter vote, so we're on the pension funds
Right.
actually go to the meetings. And quite frankly, why you need a middleman making millions of dollars when the firm should be able to talk directly.
It's old-style patronage. It's payoffs.
It's a different time and a different era. So what I have proposed is that we get away from this middleman notion, that we begin to take reform in New York City on our own. I don't think we have to wait for the Attorney General to tell us, everything that we should be doing. We should see what he's clearly laid the groundwork for reform, and we should take advantage of it with the NYSERS system.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds. Ground zero. What a mess. Does this ever get developed? Talk to me. You got a little bit of time. Tell me.
It is so unfortunate for all of us who were here and after 9/11, community in Lower Manhattan that didn't leave. People could have gone to New Jersey, fled the city, especially the community around the Ground Zero and the families who lost their loved ones that day. And this is just an epic failure by city and state government.
The mayor, the governor, the Port Authority, all of them.
That is just a tragedy. I'm hopeful that we can get out from under this, but every year that we do not move forward, it becomes, it's almost like you don't act in a year, you lose 5 years almost. And we're coming up to some anniversaries and time, and I think we have to do a lot better job.
Okay, talking about doing a better job, thank you for the job that you're doing.
Well, thanks.
Mr. Borough President.
It's great to be here. You're a great professor.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Doug Musio. Let us know what you think about this show. You can reach us at CUNY.TV. When you get there, click on the bar that says Contact Us and send your email. Whatever it is. Thanks, no thanks, obnoxious, do it. Send it.